Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Podcast. Today is Wednesday, September 21st, 2022. And I just want to, before we get into it, I want to thank everybody that showed out for the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Roadshow at Fifth Avenue last Thursday night from 5:30 to 8:30. We had a tremendous panel, great real estate panel, a lot of great conversation, informative, enthusiastic, talking about what the current market is, the current market changes, the shifts in the market, and the participation was phenomenal. You got to get back on the road and see people. We've been remiss in doing that. We're such people-oriented individuals between everybody we have on the panel. I'm going to introduce the panel right now. With us, our panel today, none other than Becky Alley. Hi, Beck.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday, and I'm looking forward to a great show. We got our buddy on. I can't wait.
Yeah. Good morning, Lisa Lawson.
Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's staying dry. Haven't gotten wet yet.
I'm digging your background, Lisa.
It's getting crazy. Good morning, Mr. John Cole.
Good morning.
And good morning, Mr. Harvey Free.
Hello to the panel.
Yeah, this is the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Podcast brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding, powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, equal housing lender, NMLS number 2289 for all our compliance people out. Our realtor guest today is none other than Joseph Muck from Joe Muck Realty. You like that, right, Joseph?
That's right. My family.
Southline. Your mom calls you Joseph still when she's mad at you, okay?
Absolutely.
And I want to welcome you in. Always great to have you on. You're always a phenomenal contributor to our show. We love it. Just getting back and tying up the event that we had last Thursday night. It was produced and directed by Roberta Beauchene. And it came off very, very nice. A lot of people there. But Joe, we're going to get into a little bit. I want to talk to the panel. I want to talk to you about more Fed talk today. The Federal Reserve is looking to continue to bolster its raising of the rate effort right now by about 75 basis points, obviously to stem the tide of the inflationary market we're currently in. Record inflation not seen in the last 40 years. Here's a question to our panel. And I was pondering this panel, and I'm going to start out with you, Becky Alley. Just raise it by 150 basis points and be done with it. What would be wrong with that? Just pull the Band-Aid off, rip it off, and we'll see you in May or June or July of next year. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like the reason why they're doing it slowly is they're trying to see how it's going to affect things. And obviously, you don't want, and that would be difficult for us also to navigate for a hot second, because you would have to go back and redo a lot of pre-approvals depending how the mortgage rates would be affected by that adjustment. So I do think that they should have maybe let us chill out for a little bit and see kind of what's going on and let things balance. And I understand that that's maybe what they're doing in hindsight, but I don't know. It's just too much of hey, I'm not. It's I feel like they're constantly, it's like a psych out. And it's also, and like we talked about, I think last week on the podcast, even the stock market is so reactionary. If they say A, all of a sudden everything is just going berserk between the stocks and everything else. And even the interest rates are, fluctuating just from someone even talking about talking. So that part is a little bit frustrating, where as far as I wish the market would settle and not be so reactionary based off of what someone is saying about what they may or may not do.
Yeah, but by the way, panel, I just want to let you know that that's not my opinion, by the way. That's some experts' opinion that say they should just do it and be done with it. And as a matter of fact, Becky Alley brought it up. The other side of the coin is that if you just keep doing 50, 75 basis points, that gives you time to see what kind of effect it has. So it really is a drip, 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 nickel and diming, but it is a cautious way of going about it. John Cole, what are your thoughts?
Well, they can't just do a 1.5, because you'll as soon as inflation is over, it'll tumble everything into a recession. So they're slowly eking it up because of that reason. But, at the same point, they're so, like Becky said, so reactionary. And as soon as they see one little bad of inkling of data, they go crazy. So, last week we got some inflation numbers out, and the market went crazy because of that. And so now the Fed is like, oh, well, we're going to raise it 0.75 of a point, maybe even a full point today. So it's just off of one bad data, some bad data that they didn't like, and they get so reactionary over it. Odds are those reports will get redone and numbers will not be as bad. And then all of a sudden our rates will come back a little bit. We see it time and time again. It's just, it gives them something to do. I'm not a fan of the way this is done. I am just, you know my thoughts on all this, but hey, you know what? I think if they would have just let it be, let it kind of ease in, maybe skip a time without bumping the rates and see what happens. Maybe that might do what you actually want it to do.
Yeah, I think John Kolb, and I've known John for a very long time, and John is so aggravated every time the Fed comes out with an announcement. I mean, he goes into Paul McCartney, John Lennon mode. Let it be, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Lisa Lawson, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, every quarter they're doing this, it's kind of intense. And I think people get sick of it and then they don't understand it. And it, offers confusion. I think if they, maybe like John said, every other time, every other quarter, maybe made that increase, really give time for the market to settle and react. 3 months isn't that long. You know what I mean? So, make sure it's got enough time so we see what's happening before we move forward with yet another increase. And I definitely agree that just increasing it all at once would have been a terrible idea. It doesn't give the public time to get used to the price, because that's what's going to happen. Things that went up, people are talking about the cost of things, right? Something that may have gone up a quarter and then, gone up a quarter again, 1 50-cent jump is a lot harder to handle than a small quarter jump. You know what I mean? So I think, twofold, it definitely needed to be done in a slower rate. But yeah, I think it's just kind of crazy. And if they'd waited a bit of time in between, possibly things would have settled out and maybe it wouldn't even been necessary.
So we are 3 for 3 right now against the one expert, and I'll weigh in that I'm not for 150 basis point hike either, but I want to go to Harvey Freed. We're 4 for 4, Harvey, 150 basis point hike. One expert said we should have done it, be done with it till next May and June. What do you think?
No, the Fed's going to be the Fed. They're going to do what they're going to do, and it's hard to put a point what the real problem is out there. How it relates to mortgage interest rates, of course, we're still suffering a little bit as rates continue to climb. On the other end of things, the inventory in this nice pocket, this nice window of opportunity out there, as I relate this back to the Fed's increase of interest rates or Fed funds rate affecting our marketplace. Joe, the segment of buyers are millennials. They made up over 50% of the buyers in the last 2 years. I don't think it's preventing them from buying the house. A lot of them have just got married. So again, hopefully we're going to continue to see a very strong spring. And I'm not sure what the next 3 or 4 months look like.
Yeah, Joe, I'm going to get to you in a second, but I'm going to read this one last quote from an expert, and then we'll get off of rates, okay? This is really moving into restrictive monetary policy territory. We will be moving into no man's land, said one economist. We actually haven't tightened policy to fight inflation since the early 1980s. That was just at yesterday at 1:00 in the afternoon. So moving off of rates, going to Joe Monk. Good morning, Joe. House prices, Joe. Seemingly, Joe, they are stabilizing. Look into your crystal ball for me. What is your outlook for the fourth quarter and maybe first quarter of 2023? Joe, that's right around the corner, right? We got fourth quarter coming up in a week to 10 days. And then only 90 more days till first quarter. So let's talk about what you think and what you're seeing in your market right now.
Well, we've definitely seen some stabilization or normalization, of the market with prices, with offers. We still see multiple offers, but we're not seeing 20. We're seeing 3, 4, 5. We're still seeing above asking, but we're not seeing 125,000. We're seeing 5, 10, 20. And we are seeing sometimes where if your neighbor sold for 400 grand, and you listed for 415, guess what? You sold for 390 because you shouldn't have tried to beat the neighbor anymore. That's where we're at. And that's where we're going to stay, in my opinion, for at least the next couple of months through the rest of this year. And then I think we'll see a small price increase, going into 2023. And as we start that spring market, especially here in Michigan, we don't see a massive slowdown, but we certainly see a small drop off once school starts. And as the spring market's gonna, approach, and as you said, it's really not that far away. I believe we will see a little bit of a hike in price again, because we are still seeing good sales. there's still a lack of inventory overall. Yes, there's a little bit more, but when we're in a scenario where almost any house can sell within a few weeks or less, you're still in a massive shortage, and builders still can't keep up. Some people are afraid to buy new construction right now. One of the things you guys were talking about really is, are we pumping the brakes? Are we slamming the brakes? Are we slowing down? What are we doing with rates? And it's the same with the housing. People are scared that if they buy that new construction home, that it might not be worth what they pay for it today. I don't know whether that's true or not, but I know that that's what people are telling me when they're considering that option. And so if we still have a shortage of new construction, then obviously there's enough people that don't feel that way and are more than happy to buy new construction. When we don't have enough new construction, we don't have enough inventory. I mean, that's really the bottom line.
Yeah, Joe, I can tell you this, in driving the neighborhoods all around metropolitan Detroit, I'm still seeing a lot of new construction, and you're absolutely right. The market is still good. You might not get 20 offers, but you might get 5. And this whole obsession we have with getting $1 more than our neighbor got. I mean, what do we, Becky Alley, what do we care for so much? I mean, are we that competitive that we Zillow it out? If our house Zillows for $1 more than our neighbor, we throw a celebration party. But I'm just so off of that now. I just think people should concentrate again situationally on what's best for them and what they've got going. And Joe knows this. Joe knows. I like that. We should use that in a commercial. Oh, that was Bo knows. I apologize. Joe knows that it's situational. His market's doing great. Becky.
Yeah. I mean, if you are, he's always awesome and on point in how he's, dissects things. But if you're chasing price, you're chasing your tail, because it's something that is going to be this ever moving, shifting animal that you have to really heed the advice of the professionals. So the sellers can no longer dictate what the houses are going to be selling for. And there's a reason why you're hiring a real estate professional, because they are the ones that are looking at the data, right? We talk about national news all the time. Well, guess what? He's also looking at what's going on locally, and not every market is affected the same, right? So when we're hearing these headlines, it's national, it's like a national level, but you got to be making sure that you're connecting with people that are in your backyard, that are giving you that data that's in your neighborhood. And you can't, people want to win. I respect that. I'm competitive myself, but at the end of the day, you are doing yourself a disservice if you're not heeding the advice of the professionals and overpricing the house. It's sitting longer because the market dictates the price always.
Yeah. Hey, John Cole, speaking of the market, I know that we put together a great realtor panel last week. We saw some of the top realtors giving some really good information out there. The outlook on the market, I think, is cautiously optimistic. Talked to 5 realtors this morning. They put together a little panel. They just wanted to get a mortgage guy's view on it. Kind of like what we do every Wednesday and every Saturday. They're starting to put together their own little panels. And what they're telling me, John Cole, is that, hey, really, it's business as usual. I mean, it's just they go out and they're grinding it out every single day. We'll get back to Joe in a second, but isn't that what you're hearing in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, I mean, it is business as usual. It's just a little bit harder right now. You got people, like Joe was saying, people that think that they are trying to buy a house and that there might be some sort of collapse coming in. Well, houses aren't like penny stocks. You can't just buy a house for 400 and a year later sell it for 440. I mean, this is a long-term investment. So you got to get into this home because you want to be in the home, understand that there are going to be ups and downs in the market, and be able to, ride them out. And so if you're looking to purchase a home, looking to get into something to improve your quality of life or where you're living so your kids can go to school, then do it. Stop overanalyzing it like the Fed. I mean, Jesus.
There you go. Hey, Lisa Lawson, I want to piggyback on what John said. Is it really harder now, or was it just easier in 2020 and 2021? I don't view it as harder. If you go back to 2018, 2019, and we're going to let Joe chime in a little bit after we get yours and Harvey's response. I'm just saying, I don't know that it's harder now. I just thought it was really easy the last 2.5 years.
Yeah, I don't think it's harder by any means. you know, to piggyback off John, I think we got spoiled, right? Everybody bought a house for 400 and all of a sudden they were selling it for 440, 460, 480 just a year later. That is not the norm in history. We've had crazy appreciation. And I think all of a sudden people go into purchasing, assuming that's what's going to happen for them. I'm going to buy this house for 400 and in 2 years, I'm going to sell it for 500. I'm going to make $100,000. Again, we're spoiled. That is not the norm. It doesn't mean that it's a bad market. It doesn't mean that we're crashing. It just means that we're normalizing, that appreciation is going to happen slower, just like it has over history. So I definitely think that, you know, this is definitely a great market to get into. You know, is it a little bit more difficult? You may have to be a smidge more patient at the moment. Absolutely, yes, than it was a few years ago, but it doesn't mean that you don't move forward. It is still a phenomenal market. Rates are still, over the course of history, very, very low. And inventory is becoming more and more available. So this is actually the perfect time to get in because more houses are coming on the market. There's a little bit more to choose from than there have been in the past couple of years. So I think right now is your sweet spot.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, Lisa. And I'm going to go with you, Harvey, on the last subject. Just reiterating what Lisa, Becky, John, and Joe's going to talk about it too. Easier or harder now, Harvey? I think we got spoiled. That's a great word that Lisa brought up. We got spoiled for the last 2.5 years. This is it's starting to be a more normalized market. You know, what do you think, Harv?
Yeah, 2019, the numbers are a little bit off of 2019. National Association of Home Builders did feel a little lack of confidence, but as Joe mentioned, the key would be for them to continue building homes, which will balance out the pricing issue. We're not going to see these 20%, 30% appreciation of homes here in Southeast Michigan. I don't see that coming. It is regional, but definitely a little window of opportunity now that I think some families could take advantage of.
Excellent. Joe, last segment of the day. So some people think it's easier. Some people think it's harder. I think it's harder, but you know, I'm sorry. I think it's more normal. I don't think it's harder. I think we were spoiled. Joe, what are you doing now that you didn't do, say, in 2021 or even at the beginning of 2022, that because there's been this shift, change, stabilization in the market, what are you doing different now on Wednesday, September 21st, 2022, that you didn't do in either the spring of 22, the winter of 21, the summer of 21? What are you doing different now?
Well, with my buyers, the biggest thing is explaining patience. You know, in the beginning of the year and last year, I had to say, if you see a house pop up at 3:00, text me. We'll try to go see it at 4:00. Because we had to get in there quick. We had to get our offer out there fast and things like that. Now it's more or less be patient. Let's check it out before we go see the house. Let's run the comps, you know, things like that. Because again, we are seeing overpriced listings at times. So if you're going to go spend whatever you're spending, $100,000, $1 million, I don't really care what the number is. Let's make sure it fits in. And then let's schedule our time. Let's take our time going through it. Maybe even try to schedule a second showing. Those are all things that we couldn't do, but it's things that we're trying to do now. Have a little patience and make sure, especially because we probably won't see you gain $120,000 in value over the next 18 months. So let's make sure that this is the home you want, because if it's not, you're kind of stuck with it, with getting, you know, a few percent gain over the next year or so versus 20, 30, 40% gain. So be patient and take your time.
Yeah. All right. To wrap it up, we're going to start wrapping up right now, Roberto. So this is the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Podcast for a Wednesday, September 21st, 2022, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding, powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, Equal Housing Lender, 2289 NMLS number. Did a realtor seminar this morning. The talk was still not enough inventory. I shared that. Buyers are out there in this market. That's what they're telling me. It's still a great time to buy. Why? Because it's way better than renting. Why are you making somebody else rich? If you can afford a $1,200, $1,500 rent payment, you can certainly afford a $1,200, $1,500 house payment, and you're going to build a place for your family to live, go to school. You're going to build some equity. Real estate has proven over the long haul, it has been one of the best investments you can make in your lifetime. Last words, we're going to start with Becky Alley. Becky?
So, so piggyback on what you just said, and I want to tie in what Joe said as well. A recession does not mean a housing crisis. Okay. And like what Harry was mentioning is that historically speaking, the housing market has been very steadfast and it's always been a great investment for you and your future. Right now, it poses a great opportunity for buyers because they don't have to go in feeling like they have to hurry up and make these offers. They can make an educated decision. They can make sure that they're getting just as many boxes checked on their wants and needs as the sellers. And that's key, right? Because there's a lot of people over the last couple of years. Did they benefit and was it a good move for them? And did it work out for them? Yes. But a lot of them had buyer's remorse because they were paying so much over asking. And, you know, some of them, they were able to take advantage of it. But when this market is settling now and they paid $450 for a house and in 2 years, it might appraise for $430, which is what it appraised for when it should, what it should have been. I'm like, then they're going to get upset by those things. Right. So, you know, those are not necessarily negative equity positions, but, you know, a reality is 2, 3, 5% appreciation over the year is still a fantastic appreciating market. And just because you're not going to see double digits going forward, that doesn't mean it's not a good financial move for you and your family.
Excellent. Excellent thoughts. John Cole.
I mean, yeah, I mean, we just, like you had said, I'm going to just piggyback off what Becky said. You know, a recession doesn't necessarily mean that the housing market's going to crash, but it definitely does mean that people cut their spending. So I think we are going to see some prices come down after the Fed is done. No offense, Joe, mucking this up.
Waka
waka. Right? After the Fed's done doing all this crap, if we do tailspin into a recession, they'll likely have to start cutting rates at that point. So it's just, you know, stick with the ride, you know, hold on while the roller coaster is going up and down, and we'll get through it. And we'll always be there to consult and help you the best we can.
Excellent. Lisa Lawson.
Hey, yeah. I mean, just like John said, it might be a roller coaster, but hey, everybody likes a roller coaster. Enjoy the ride. Get your house. You know, make your house your home. And don't worry about all those other, you know, incidentals. Yes, rates go up, but they might come down. And if they do, we're going to take care of you. Make sure you get in a lower rate. You know, make sure you get in the home that you want is really the most important thing. Obviously, I'm not speaking to investors here right now, but, you know, renting is still a waste of money. You know, it's 100% interest and you're not building equity for yourself. You're not building wealth for yourself. So it's definitely the time.
Excellent. Mr. Harvey Freed.
Well, the expectations that this will solve all our economic problems, I really hope they come true. The Fed is definitely going to make some moves here. So buckle up for the next 18 months. And again, we look forward to when we can start talking about a little bit lower interest rates, more inventory on the marketplace.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Podcast. We have Joe Muck on, Joe Muck Realty from South Lyon. Joe, give us your last words for today. What do you got going, my man?
If you're thinking of buying or selling, it's always a great time. If rates are going up, even if house prices stabilize, you're going to pay more. And if prices go down and rates go up, you're paying the same. And so, you know, there's not a good time or there's not a bad time, depending on which way you like to see that side of things. Buy if you're thinking of buying, or sell if you're thinking of selling. And if you're not, then go ahead and stay put. It's okay. You know, but you're not going to buy when prices are going down, because what are you thinking? It's going down more. So you're still not going to buy. You're never going to perfectly time this thing. So if it's right for you or your family to move, then do it. And if it's not, then stay where you're at and, you know, love where you're at.
I love it, Joe. Word to the wise, everybody. They go up, they go down, they stay the same. They can only do one of three things, and 2 of them are pretty good. Okay, so you're right, Joe. What are you waiting for? Said it for a while. That was excellent. Joe Muck Real Estate, Next Home Real Estate in South Lyon, Michigan. Thank you very much for being on the podcast. This week, coming up, Harvey Freed, Becky Alley, Harry Glanz, John Cole, Lisa Lawson. We don't know who's going to be there, but we do know Roberto Beauchene's going to be there with Scott Golinak from Realty Inc. in Canton, Michigan. 97.1 FM, heard every Saturday morning, 9 to 10 a.m. Listen, everybody, this is Harry Glanz for the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Podcast. Today is September 21st. We appreciate you listening. Panel, as always, I appreciate you. Glad I get to work with you every single day. Joe, great to see you, and hope to see everybody soon. Have a great day, everybody.